just because you're not working doesn't mean you're going to, sleep all day or sit on the couch and watch TV and Netflix and chill or whatever.
Hello, this is Mark Silverman, managing member and founder of Silverman & Associates, and I'm also a certified financial planner professional. I want to welcome you to the Saving with Silverman podcast. I'm glad you're here. Each week, we'll discuss different financial planning topics because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life.
Okay, let's talk about financial stress. And, there's a lot of stress involved in the world of money. Psychologists have determined that retirement is the 10th most stressful event that you can experience in life. The events on this list that I'm about to read here are considered more stressful, including things like the death of a spouse, the death of a parent, divorce, going to jail. I would imagine there would be a lot of stress involved in that one. So let's look at the ways to proactively deal with stress in retirement. First of all, I suppose you should understand the significant lifestyle changes that come along with retirement.
Yeah, I mean, retirement, like you said, is something fairly new. Most of our, whether it be grandparents, depending on our age, maybe even parents, never really retired. People worked until they died, and that's just how it was. So it's a fairly new concept, but there's lots of stresses that can come with retirement and trying to figure out what's the best thing to do as far as taking different things. And can you retire? Are you going to have to go back to work? Do you have enough money to retire? What kind of expenses would you may or may not have in retirement? There's lots of different things in there, so it's important to understand what those things are. And yes, you do get rid of stresses by not working, but you may be taking on some different stresses that you weren't aware of until you get into that moment. So that's one of the things we can help guide our clients through is we've done it enough to work with clients to understand what challenges they might be seeing when it comes to their own retirement and what that may look like.
It's really interesting when people retire, they're no longer on the clock and all this kind of thing. But I've heard a lot of people say recently that, especially since they're working from home, they're saying, I might go ahead and retire a little earlier than I thought because I don't have to deal with any more drama at the office. And I've gotten used to that. I don't want to have to go back in there and have to deal with all that nonsense.
And that could be true. I mean, there's drama with all aspects of life. You could have drama at home. I mean, I have a 16-year-old daughter, so there's always drama.
No.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, there's always going to be some sort of drama and different things. But, some people might, a lot of my clients are still working from home. Some are doing the hybrid thing. Some are back in the office. So I think work life's going to be a lot different. And some people may extend their working career because they do have the flexibility of working from home now.
That's true.
Where they didn't a couple years ago.
Absolutely.
So
another thing to think about is embracing the opportunity to face new challenges. You don't have the challenge of getting up and going to work every day, but there are other challenges that you might have, and some of those might be really good.
Right. I mean, you still have to keep busy doing something. And just because you're not working doesn't mean you're going to, sleep all day or sit on the couch and watch TV and Netflix and chill or whatever. There's still going to be challenges, and there's still things that are going to happen. You still have to keep busy. So I can tell you, and I've said this before, my most successful, and I mean happy, retired clients are the ones that tell me that they're busier now than they were when they were working. So you've got to do something, and I've said this before too, I could put a plan together for your money, but you need to put a plan together for your time. So it's understanding what you're going to do in retirement and have a well thought out plan of what those days are going to look like to occupy your time, because you've got to keep your mind and body active, or else you're not going to have a very long retirement.
Another thing that in retirement you're going to have, more time, and you can be flexible and keep your options open because you never know what's going to happen.
Right. I mean, having options is key. And, you've got to have, again, going back to what we were just talking about, what are you going to do with your time? Is it going to be volunteering? Are you going to maybe go back part-time? Are you going to do something totally different? Maybe go back to school, do something else? I mean, there's lots of different things that you can do, but you've got to have a plan and doing something that you enjoy, or maybe doing what you were doing before to a lesser extent, maybe contract work or whatever it might be. But you've got to have a plan. Travel can only go so far. You can't travel all the time, I guess. Technically you could, but travel can only go so far. So what are you going to do the rest of that time to occupy your time?
Okay, another thing to keep in mind here on Saving with Silverman. We're talking with Mark Silverman, if you just joined us, and we're talking about the way things change when you retire. Keep your sense of perspective. As you mentioned earlier, Mark, retirement is a concept that's only been around for about 100 years, so it's relatively new.
It is, and I don't even know if it's been around 100 years. I think, 100 years ago, people worked and then they died. Look at how Social Security's set up. It's set up for people to get it for a very short period of time.
Yeah.
If you think about it, that's how it was set up, and that's why it's having some issues, and that's why it's being restructured as we speak. But it's important to keep your perspective and make sure that you have a routine. Maybe it's a different routine once you do retire, but hopefully while you were working, you still have a routine of staying active and spending your time and doing things that you want to be doing outside of work, and you're still able to continue that when you are retired. But maintaining a healthy lifestyle and staying active is important. And now that you're not working, hopefully you can do a better job of fitting that in if you weren't actively doing that prior.
There's so many people who never get the opportunity to retire. So if you're in that situation, then I guess we should all consider ourselves lucky if we do have that opportunity. Some people don't make it that far, and I guess if you are thinking about retirement, and maybe especially if you're in the years leading up to your retirement, you need to plan to get to and through retirement. And Mark Silverman can help you there. So it's important to call the number I'm going to give out in just a moment here and work closely with Mark Silverman or another good advisor in order to make sure that you have a good plan put together.
Yeah, I mean, whether you're doing it yourself or working with someone, hopefully you have somebody that you can run your ideas off of and run your numbers through, because there's probably some things that even if you've done a great job on your own that you haven't thought of. And, when you do finally leave your job, if that's something you're looking to do, you don't want to have to go back to work if you don't have to. Yeah. So you want to make sure that you're making all those decisions. And some decisions, you can change, but there are certain decisions, taking Social Security, turning on a pension, how you turn on that pension. There are some decisions that you need to get right the first time. So having a professional that knows what they're doing is extremely important, because you can't go backwards. So, make sure they're a fiduciary like we are, or make sure they're a CFP like we are, and making sure that you trust them and that they're looking out for your best interest at all times and not there to just try to sell you something. Unfortunately, on the radio especially, there are a lot of people just here, selling annuities. And annuities may or may not be a piece of your puzzle. In my experience, they're usually not a big piece of that puzzle, but that's just my 2 cents. But then again, I'm not here selling commissionable products like others are. So you want somebody that's looking out for your best interest, that knows and that you can trust to do what's going to be best for you and your family.
You've been listening to the Saving with Silverman podcast. If you have any questions at all about your financial situation, please give Mark Silverman a call. Again, his number is 520-333-7601, or go online to savingwithsilverman.com. For Mark Silverman, I'm Ron Stutz. We'll see you next time on the Saving with Silverman podcast.
The Saving with Silverman podcast is brought to you by Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, based in Tucson, Arizona. The show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and everywhere you listen to shows. Subscribe to the show on your favorite app today and never miss an episode. Just search for Saving with Silverman to find us, or visit savingwithsilverman.com to listen to past episodes, to contact Mark, and to learn more about how to make smarter decisions with your money.
Did you know that Mark Silverman also has a radio show? Tune in to Saving with Silverman Saturdays and Sundays at 3 p.m. on AM 790 KNST.
All matters discussed on this show are for informational purposes only. Opinions expressed are solely those of Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, and staff. All topics covered are believed to be from reliable sources. However, Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC makes no representation as to its accuracy or completeness. This show shall in no way be construed as a solicitation to sell securities or investment advisory services to residents of any state other than Arizona or where otherwise permitted. Topics should be discussed with your individual advisor prior to implementation. Fee-based financial planning and investment advisory services offered through Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor in the state of Arizona. Insurance products and services are offered through Silverman & Associates, an affiliated company.